The massive Imperial scout ship hung silently in the darkness of space, its sensors focused on the blue-green planet below. Inside the ship's command center, Admiral Marcus stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the holographic display of Earth with cold, calculating eyes. "Another primitive world," he said, his voice carrying the weight of 10,000 years of Imperial conquest. "Look at them, still fighting among themselves over tiny pieces of land and resources." His second-in-command, Captain Reed, nodded in agreement as they watched scenes from Earth's broadcasts. The year was 2045, and humanity was still taking its first baby steps into space. The International Space Station had grown larger, and there was a small research base on the Moon, but nothing that could possibly challenge the might of the Empire. "Their technology is surprisingly varied, Admiral," one of the junior officers reported, scrolling through data streams. "They still use primitive combustion engines, but they also have basic AI systems and are experimenting with quantum computing." Admiral Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "Many young species develop in such uneven ways. It makes them easier to conquer. They lack unity, lack focus." He zoomed in on various cities across Earth's surface. "Look at their weapons. They still use projectiles and explosives. They haven't even developed basic energy shields." The scout ship's AI compiled its report as they watched. Earth had vast reserves of minerals, water, and organic resources. Its population of 8 billion would provide excellent labor for the Empire's ever-growing need for workers. The planet's location near several valuable trade routes made it an ideal addition to the Empire's territory. "Send the report to the Imperial Council," Admiral Marcus commanded. "Recommend immediate conquest. These humans will make an easy target, and the resources will benefit our expansion in this sector." As the report traveled through faster-than-light communications to the Empire's capital world, none of the Imperial officers noticed something important. Their sensors, calibrated to detect energy weapons and shield systems, had completely missed Earth's extensive satellite network and advanced cyber warfare capabilities. 2 weeks later, the Imperial Council's response arrived. The hologram of High Counselor Drake filled the command center, his silver-skinned face showing no emotion. "Your report is most interesting, Admiral Marcus. The Council approves your recommendation. Earth will be added to the Empire." "Thank you, High Counselor," Marcus bowed slightly. "I suggest we follow standard conquest protocol. One show of force, followed by demands for surrender." These humans seemed to frighten easily, based on their entertainment broadcasts. The High Counselor's expression didn't change. "Proceed as you see fit, Admiral. The Empire has conquered thousands of worlds this way. Earth will be no different." But even as these powerful beings planned Earth's fate, they missed crucial details. Their spy drones, watching Earth's broadcasts, saw humans constantly fighting each other. The Empire's analysts labeled this as weakness, proof of an unstable species. They didn't understand that these conflicts had taught humanity countless lessons in warfare, strategy, and survival. They watched Earth's movies about alien invasions and wars, dismissing them as primitive entertainment. They didn't realize these stories were humanity's way of preparing, of imagining countless scenarios and solutions. Every alien invasion movie, every war game, every survival story was a training manual in disguise. Deep in the mountains of Colorado, at NORAD headquarters, a young lieutenant stared at her radar screen with concern. "Sir," she called to her superior, "I'm picking up some strange readings from beyond lunar orbit. The object appears to be using some kind of cloaking technology, but our new quantum sensors can detect its presence." Her commander looked at the data and immediately picked up a secure phone. Within hours, similar reports came in from monitoring stations in Russia, China, and Europe. Something large was out there, watching Earth. Unknown to the Empire, humanity had already detected their scout ship. As Admiral Marcus planned his easy conquest, Earth's governments quietly began preparing for the greatest challenge in human history. The Empire's fatal mistake was already in motion, but they were too blinded by their own superiority to see it. 3 months after the Imperial scout ship's discovery, Earth's military leaders gathered in a secret underground facility beneath the Swiss Alps. The room was filled with tension as generals and admirals from different nations watched satellite footage of more Imperial ships arriving at the edge of the solar system. "They're positioning their fleet behind Jupiter," General Thompson said, pointing at the holographic display. "Our quantum sensors count at least 30 large vessels, possibly warships." The Russian General Petrov leaned forward in his chair. "They think we cannot see them. This is their first mistake." A slight smile crossed his weathered face. "While they hide, we prepare." Around the table, heads nodded in agreement. For the first time in history, Earth's major powers were working together in complete secrecy. The Chinese admiral opened his tablet, displaying weapons test results. "Our railgun tests are successful," he reported. "One shot can deliver the force of a small nuclear bomb without radiation. The enemy will not expect simple kinetic weapons." In orbit, the Empire continued their surveillance, completely unaware that their presence was known. Their spy drones recorded Earth's television broadcasts, military parades, and internet traffic. In his flagship, Admiral Marcus watched the reports with growing confidence. "Look at these humans," he said to his officers. "They waste time watching shows about war instead of preparing for real battles. Their armies still practice with primitive projectile weapons." He laughed, pointing at footage of a tank exercise. "They haven't changed their basic weapon designs in 100 years. Captain Reed nodded, but something bothered him. "Sir, I notice they practice warfare constantly. Every nation maintains large armies, even in peace." "Because they don't trust each other," Marcus dismissed his concern. "They're too busy fighting amongst themselves to pose any real threat to us." Meanwhile, in a secret facility under the New Mexico desert, Dr. Wilson studied debris from a small Imperial probe they had managed to shoot down. Her team worked day and night, reverse engineering the alien technology. "Their energy shields operate on a predictable frequency," she explained to the military observers. "They're designed to stop energy weapons like lasers and plasma, but they might be useless against old-fashioned bullets and shells." Back in space, the Empire's fleet grew larger. Supply ships arrived carrying ground troops and invasion equipment. They used Jupiter's magnetic field to mask their communications, not realizing that Earth's quantum sensors could detect their signals. In his office at the United Nations, the Secretary General signed a secret document. For the first time since World War II, all of Earth's major industries were quietly switching to war production. Car factories retooled to make armored vehicles. Smartphone manufacturers began producing military electronics. "They expect to find us divided," he told his aide. "Instead, they will face a united human race." Deep under the Pacific Ocean, submarine captains received new orders. Missile silos across the world were loaded with new warheads designed to work in space. Civilian satellite networks were secretly modified to serve as backup military communications. The Empire's spies saw none of this. They watched human movies about alien invasions and laughed at how unrealistic they were. They didn't understand that humans had spent decades imagining this exact scenario, planning and preparing through their stories and games. In the Imperial flagship, Admiral Marcus finalized his invasion plan. "We'll strike their major cities first," he told his war council. "Show them our power. They'll surrender within hours, like all the others." "What if they resist?" a junior officer asked. Marcus smiled coldly. "They won't. Their weapons are primitive. Their armies are divided. Their leaders will surrender to save their people." As the Empire made their final preparations, Earth did the same. But while the Empire planned a quick conquest, humanity prepared for the fight of their lives. In labs, factories, and military bases around the world, people worked with quiet determination. The Empire thought they were watching Earth. They didn't realize Earth was watching them back, studying their every move, preparing a welcome they would never forget. The Imperial ships appeared in Earth's sky on a quiet Sunday morning. Their massive hulls blocked out the sun over major cities across the world, casting dark shadows on the streets below. Admiral Marcus stood proudly on his flagship's bridge, watching as his fleet took position. "Send the surrender demand," he ordered. His message broadcasted to every screen and speaker on Earth. "People of Earth, your planet is now property of the Galactic Empire. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly as Imperial subjects. Resist, and face destruction." For 5 minutes, there was only silence. Then, 10 minutes. Marcus frowned. Why aren't they responding? They should be begging for mercy by now. Suddenly, his ship's sensors screamed warnings. Thousands of hidden missile silos opened across Earth's surface. Underground hangars revealed massive railgun batteries. The orbital defense network, disguised as communication satellites, powered up their weapons. "Impossible," Marcus shouted as the first wave of Earth's counterattack began. Railgun rounds, moving at near light speed, slammed into his ship's energy shields. The shields, designed to stop energy weapons, did nothing against simple metal projectiles moving at incredible speeds. "Our shields are useless," his tactical officer screamed. "Their weapons are too primitive for our defenses." In low Earth orbit, Commander Bill Evans led the first squadron of Earth's new space fighters. These small ships, built in secret, carried no energy weapons. Instead, they launched clouds of ball bearings at Imperial ships, shredding their hulls with thousands of high-speed impacts. "Keep firing," Evans ordered as his squadron dove through the Imperial formation. "Their armor can't handle kinetic weapons." Admiral Marcus watched in horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart by weapons he had dismissed as obsolete. Launch fighters. Return fire. But Earth's military had planned for this. As soon as the Imperial fighters launched, they faced a wall of anti-aircraft fire from ground batteries. The Empire's energy weapons were powerful but slow. They could destroy a city, but couldn't hit Earth's fast, small fighters. Meanwhile, humanity's primitive bullets and shells filled space with so many projectiles that the Imperial ships couldn't dodge them all. "This is impossible," Marcus repeated as another destroyer exploded. "They're savages. They're not supposed to have space weapons." On the ground, humanity's armies moved in perfect coordination. Years of fighting each other had taught humans countless tactics. Now they used every trick they knew. Russian tanks fired special rounds that disrupted Imperial landing ships. American stealth bombers dropped electromagnetic pulse weapons that crashed alien fighters. The Imperial ground forces that managed to land faced another surprise. Instead of fighting in open battles, Earth's armies used guerrilla tactics. They struck from hidden bunkers, disappeared into tunnels, and used simple but effective traps. "Sir," Marcus's second-in-command reported, "half the fleet is damaged or destroyed. We need to retreat." But retreat wasn't easy. Earth's quantum scientists had studied the Imperial ships faster than light drives. They knew exactly how to disrupt their escape routes. When Imperial ships tried to flee, their engines failed, leaving them trapped. After just 6 hours of battle, the mighty Imperial invasion force was in ruins. Broken ships filled Earth's orbit. Surviving vessels fled in panic, their crews shocked by the devastating defeat. In his damaged flagship, Admiral Marcus stared at the casualty reports in disbelief. How? They were primitive. They weren't supposed to be ready. On Earth, celebrations began, but military leaders knew this was just the beginning. They had surprised the Empire once, but now the real war would start. In factories and labs around the world, workers began building more weapons, preparing for the Empire's return. Commander Evans looked out his fighter's window at the debris of Imperial ships. "They thought we were primitive because we didn't have their fancy energy weapons," he said to his squadron. "They forgot that sometimes the old ways work best, and they completely missed that we've been preparing for this fight our entire lives." 1 week after humanity's first victory against the Empire, the United Nations building in New York hosted an extraordinary meeting. Representatives from every nation on Earth gathered to form a new world government. Old enemies sat side by side, their past conflicts forgotten in the face of a greater threat. The Empire will return, the American president said, addressing the packed assembly hall. They will come back with a bigger fleet and stronger weapons. We must be ready. The Russian president stood next. For centuries, we fought each other. Now we fight together. My nation offers all its military resources to Earth's united defense. In the halls of power across the world, a remarkable transformation took place. The UN Security Council became Earth's War Council. Military commanders who had once planned to fight each other now worked together, sharing their best strategies and weapons. Dr. Miller, studying the captured Imperial technology in her underground lab, made an exciting discovery. Their faster-than-light drives have a weakness, she explained to the War Council. They can't handle sudden changes in gravity. We can use this to trap their ships. The Council immediately ordered the construction of gravity wave generators around Earth. These simple but effective devices could create gravity distortions that would tear Imperial ships apart when they try to escape. Meanwhile, in military bases worldwide, soldiers trained together for the first time. American pilots flew alongside Chinese crews. British submarines patrolled with Russian fleets. Indian and Pakistani forces conducted joint exercises. Look at this satellite image, Commander Stone said during a strategy meeting. He pointed to pictures of Imperial worlds. Their cities are all built the same way. Their armies follow the same tactics everywhere. They'd forgotten how to adapt. The War Council realized this was the Empire's greatest weakness. In 10,000 years of easy victories, they had become rigid and predictable. Humanity's greatest strength was its diversity of tactics and thinking. Factories around the world worked nonstop. They built more railguns, fighters, and gravity traps. Scientists reverse-engineered Imperial technology, finding ways to combine it with Earth's primitive weapons to create something new and unexpected. We're not just defending Earth anymore, the Japanese representative announced. We're taking the fight to them. The War Council approved a bold plan. Earth would build its own space fleet, using a mix of Imperial technology and human innovation. Workers converted cargo ships into carriers. Engineers installed railguns on space stations. Every orbital platform became a fortress. But humanity's preparations weren't just military. People around the world learned alien languages and studied Imperial culture. They found more weaknesses: the Empire's rigid social structure, their dependence on AI, their fear of chaos and change. They think in straight lines, a military analyst explained. They expect enemies to either surrender or fight in traditional battles. They don't understand guerrilla warfare, surprise attacks, or changing tactics. 3 weeks after the first battle, Earth's new united government was fully operational. The old national armies became part of the Earth Defense Force. A single flag, showing Earth against a starry background, flew alongside national flags everywhere. In orbit, construction teams built defense platforms using debris from destroyed Imperial ships. On the ground, civilians learned emergency protocols and built underground shelters. Everyone had a role in Earth's defense. The Empire thinks they lost one battle, the UN Secretary General said in a worldwide broadcast. They don't realize they've awakened something they've never faced before, a united human race. As Earth prepared for the Empire's return, Admiral Marcus's damaged flagship limped back to Imperial space. He didn't know that his defeat had already changed the galaxy forever. The news spread among the Empire's subject worlds. Someone had finally beaten the unbeatable Empire. The War Council's last action that day was to send a message into space, broadcast on all frequencies in the Imperial language. We are humanity. We will not surrender. We will not serve. Come back at your own risk. 1 month after their first defeat, the Empire returned. This time, they'd brought 1,000 ships. The massive fleet darkened Earth's skies, led by the Empire's most powerful weapon, the Planet Killer, a ship as large as a small moon. High Admiral Wells of the Imperial First Fleet stood on his command bridge, watching Earth grow larger on his view screen. His orders were simple: destroy Earth's military capability at any cost. Launch the first attack, he commanded. Show these primitives the true power of the Empire. The planet killer's main cannon powered up, gathering enough energy to crack a continent. But Earth was ready. As the weapon prepared to fire, hundreds of gravity generators activated around the planet. The sudden gravitational waves twisted space itself, bending the planet killer's energy beam away from Earth. Impossible, Wells shouted. They've learned to control gravity already. The Empire's fleet launched thousands of fighters, expecting an easy victory. Instead, they flew into carefully prepared traps. Earth's defense satellites created a web of railgun fire, while hidden missile platforms launched swarms of nuclear-powered drones. Their weapons, an Imperial officer stammered. They're not the same as before. They're using our own technology against us. Dr. Miller's gravity research had yielded another surprise for the Empire. Earth's ships could now create small gravity wells that pulled Imperial vessels out of formation, breaking their carefully planned battle lines. They adapt too quickly. Wells watched as his perfect formation fell into chaos. No species has ever learned our technology this fast. But the Empire still had numbers on their side. Wave after wave of Imperial ships pressed their attack, willing to take heavy losses to reach Earth. They expected to find Earth's defenses weakening. Instead, they found them getting stronger. Hidden factories on the moon's dark side launched fresh squadrons of Earth fighters. Orbital defense platforms repaired themselves using nanobots reverse-engineered from Imperial technology. Every destroyed Earth ship scattered special mines that continued fighting even after their crews were gone. My lord, Wells's second-in-command reported, we've lost 30% of the fleet. Our tactics aren't working. Then we'll use them all. Wells ordered in desperation. Launch every fighter. Fire every weapon. They can't stop everything. But that's exactly what Earth had prepared for. As the Empire committed their full force, humanity unveiled their newest weapon. Quantum beacons, hidden in the asteroid belt. Activated, they created a field that disrupted Imperial faster than light drives, trapping the fleet in normal space. We can't retreat, Imperial commanders realized too late. They've caged us in. The Empire's mighty fleet found itself caught between Earth's orbital defenses and the vengeful human fleet. Ships that had conquered 1,000 worlds fell to weapons that combined Imperial science with human ingenuity. The planet killer made one last attempt to turn the tide. It fired its main weapon at full power, trying to break through Earth's gravity defense. The beam struck the gravity web and bent back on itself, tearing the massive ship apart in a blast that lit up the solar system. High Admiral Wells watched in horror as his fleet died around him. How? He asked as Earth ships surrounded his command vessel. How did they defeat our greatest weapons? The answer came from Commander Stone of the Earth Defense Force. You gave us something we've never had before, a reason to work together. Every weapon you used taught us something new. Every attack made us stronger. As the battle ended, the Empire had lost more ships than in the previous 1,000 years combined. Their invincible planet killer was destroyed. Their best admiral was captured. But worst of all, they had shown the galaxy that they could be beaten. On Earth, people celebrated their second victory, but their leaders knew the war wasn't over. The Empire would be back, and next time they would be even more desperate. But Earth would be ready. Humanity had learned to combine the best of both worlds, Imperial technology and human determination. 6 months after defeating the Empire's greatest fleet, Earth was ready to take the fight to enemy territory. The Earth Defense Force had built hundreds of new ships, combining Imperial technology with human innovation. Each vessel carried both energy weapons and railguns, able to switch between them as needed. Admiral James Turner stood on the bridge of the EDF Humanity's Hope, Earth's first capital ship. Behind him, a fleet of 500 vessels prepared to jump into Imperial space. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Professor Smith's quantum bypass is working perfectly. We can track Imperial fleet movements through their own communication network. Turner nodded, remembering how Professor Smith's team had cracked the Imperial quantum communications. The Empire had used the same codes for 1,000 years, never expecting anyone to break them. "Send the order," Turner commanded. "Operation Payback begins now." The Earth fleet jumped into faster than light speed, but not using Imperial technology. Human scientists had developed their own FTL drive, one that the Empire wouldn't expect or be able to detect. Their first target was New Damascus, an Imperial factory world. The Empire's defenders were shocked when Earth ships appeared inside their defense grid instead of outside it. Before they could react, precise strikes from Earth's hybrid weapons disabled their main facilities. "We're not here to destroy," Turner broadcast to the planet's population. "We're here to free you from the Empire. Join us or stay neutral. The choice is yours." The factory world's population, tired of Imperial rule, quickly sided with Earth. More importantly, other subjugated species watched and took note. The unbeatable Empire had not only been beaten, but was now being invaded. Earth's fleet moved fast, hitting Imperial bases across 3 sectors. They didn't try to hold territory like the Empire would. Instead, they struck quickly, destroyed military targets, and moved on, leaving Imperial worlds free to choose their own path. "Sir," Turner's intelligence officer reported, "we're getting messages from dozens of worlds. They want to help us fight the Empire. Some have already started rebellions." The Empire's response was slow and confused. Their rigid military doctrine had no answer for Earth's hit-and-run tactics. When they gathered large fleets to defend one sector, Earth's forces struck somewhere else. When they spread their forces thin, they became easy targets. Professor Smith's team, monitoring Imperial communications from Earth, provided constant updates. "Their command structure is breaking down," she reported. "Local commanders aren't waiting for orders anymore. Some are surrendering without a fight." The Empire had never faced an enemy like humanity. Earth ships would appear from nowhere, strike with weapons that ignored Imperial defenses, then disappear before reinforcements arrived. Each attack taught them something new about Imperial technology, making them even more effective. "Another Imperial battle group has surrendered," Turner's second-in-command reported. "Their commander says he'd rather join us than die for the Empire's pride." But humanity's greatest victory wasn't military. As news of Earth's successes spread, other species began to resist Imperial rule. Worlds that had been conquered centuries ago saw hope for the first time. Underground resistance movements became open rebellions. "The Empire is facing revolts on 100 worlds," Professor Smith reported to the War Council. "Their forces are stretched too thin trying to maintain control. Their own arrogance is destroying them." Turner watched from his bridge as another Imperial fortress fell to Earth's attack. The mighty Empire that had planned to easily conquer Earth was now struggling to defend itself. "They thought size and technology would guarantee victory," he told his crew. "They forgot that wars are won by people, not weapons, and they never understood that Earth's greatest strength isn't our weapons or technology. It's our ability to adapt and work together." As the Earth fleet prepared for their next attack, news arrived from the Empire's capital. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Imperial Council was considering peace talks. Earth's counter-invasion had achieved what seemed impossible. It had brought the mighty Empire to its knees. The Imperial capital world of Nova Prime glowed like a jewel in space, its golden towers reaching toward the stars. But today, those towers cast long shadows as Earth's diplomatic fleet arrived for the peace talks. After a year of war, the mighty Galactic Empire was about to change forever. In the Imperial Palace's Grand Hall, Earth's representatives met with the Imperial Council. Admiral Turner led the human delegation, while the captured Admiral Marcus watched from a corner, now understanding how completely he had misjudged humanity. "Your empire has ruled for 10,000 years," Turner addressed the council. "That ends today. But we're not here to destroy you. We're here to help build something better." The High Counselor, his silver face showing age for the first time, spoke carefully. "What are your terms?" Turner activated a hologram showing the galaxy. "First, every world in the Empire gets to choose its own future. Those who want independence can have it. Those who want to stay can stay. But no more conquests, no more forced labor." As if on cue, news arrived from across the galaxy. Hundreds of Imperial worlds were already declaring independence. The Empire's mighty fleet, once the greatest force in the galaxy, was surrendering piece by piece to local resistance movements. "You don't understand what you're doing," one council member protested. "Without the Empire's control, there will be chaos." "No," Turner replied. "There will be freedom. We've already helped 50 former Imperial worlds set up their own governments. They're doing fine without your control." The council watched in shock as more reports came in. Their perfectly ordered empire was transforming itself. Worlds that had been bitter enemies under Imperial rule were now forming their own alliances. Trade routes once controlled by the Empire were opening to free commerce. "This is the end of an era," Turner continued. "But it doesn't have to be a tragedy. Join us in building a galactic council where all species have a voice. Help us create something new." From his corner, Admiral Marcus finally spoke. "Listen to them," he told his fellow Imperials. "I've seen what humans can do. They beat us not because they were stronger, but because they were wiser. They understand something we forgot. Unity through freedom is stronger than unity through force." The High Counselor looked at the reports one last time. The Empire's hold over its worlds was already broken. Fighting would only cause more destruction. After 10,000 years of absolute rule, the Empire had to change or die. "We accept your terms," he announced. "The Empire as we knew it is over." Within hours, the news spread across the galaxy. Ships from 100 freed worlds arrived at Nova Prime to participate in forming the new Galactic Council. Species that had been enemies for centuries sat together, learning from Earth's example how former foes could become allies. Admiral Turner walked in the palace gardens with Professor Smith, who had come to study the Empire's vast libraries. "Did you ever think it would end like this?" he asked. "The Empire made a fatal mistake," she replied. "They thought conquering Earth would be easy because we were primitive. They didn't realize that our struggles, our divisions, our constant adaptation had made us stronger than their perfect order." In the following months, the galaxy transformed. The new Galactic Council, led by representatives from Earth and former Imperial worlds, worked to build a free and united galaxy. Earth's technology and ideas spread rapidly, mixing with local cultures to create new ways of living. The Empire's defeat became a legend, taught on 1,000 worlds. It wasn't just a story about humanity's victory. It was a lesson about the strength found in diversity, adaptation, and freedom. In the end, the Empire's greatest mistake wasn't attacking Earth. It was believing that their power made them unbeatable. They never understood that true strength comes not from controlling others, but from working together as equals. As Earth's ships returned home, Admiral Turner made one final log entry. The Empire thought they would add Earth to their collection of conquered worlds. Instead, they gave humanity the chance to show the galaxy a better way. Sometimes the best victory isn't destroying your enemy, it's transforming them into friends.